If you haven't heard of the Twitter files, I don't blame you. It should be one of the biggest stories in the world right now, but some news organisations are simply burying it.
Elon Musk is calling out bias in the media as the Sunday shows on ABC, NBC, CBS, and CNN devote a total of only 7 seconds to the unprecedented information drop that exposed exactly how Twitter censored the Hunter Biden laptop story.
I think those people should be looking in the mirror and wondering why they were deceptive. Why did they deceive the American public? And instead of trying to redirect blame to Matt Taibbi, they need to be accepting some responsibility themselves for not being truthful to the American public.
So what are the Twitter files, and why would those massive media companies refuse to dedicate any meaningful airtime to the story? Well, after taking control of Twitter, Elon Musk has decided to make a trove of documents public relating to why Twitter locked the New York Post's account for publishing revelations about Hunter Biden's laptop. The story dropped in 2020, in the middle of the presidential election, and many pundits say that Twitter's actions are tantamount to election interference. If journalists cannot report accurate news about candidates, then we have a problem. Conservatives have long suspected that Twitter's decision to block that story was suspicious, and thanks to the Twitter files, we now have details of some staff internally raising red flags about the decision. They thought what we all thought. What could possibly justify the decision? There are also troves of emails where Joe Biden's campaign team were working directly with Twitter to delete and censor commentary from everyday users they didn't like. It was weird and in many ways unprecedented. Social media platforms claim not to be publishers or editors. The distinction is immensely important legally, as some platforms have additional legal protections against defamation threats that publishers do not have. What Elon has exposed is what we all suspected. Some people at Twitter perverted their platform for political gain. It should terrify you that tech giants have the capability to do stuff like this without there being accountability. There should be inquiries, and journalists, of all people, should be furious. But instead, the response from some of the media has been all too predictably quiet. Sophie, what are your thoughts on the Twitter files? It's been interesting how we're being drip-fed some of the information, but the fact that we had the staff raise those suspicions and say, why did we ban them? There doesn't appear to be a good reason for it. It appears to have confirmed a lot of our suspicions.
It absolutely has confirmed it, Jack. And I think Elon Musk just drip feeding this information along with the various reporters that are also being fed the information is something to watch. And it's sending Twitter into a spin, really. A lot of people are, watching this really closely to see what was happening behind closed doors, what we all suspected. And now the evidence is out there showing what they were doing. They were censoring particular stories. They were driving a political agenda. And this could have had an impact on the US election. That we will never know, but very concerning. And I think we'll see more and more of this as the Twitter files drop.
Joe, and it's really funny to me because Elon is such a
it's hilarious.
He's such a manic person and he's infuriating everyone. What's your take on the situation?
I think it's, as you said, it's telling us something that everyone suspected or everyone knew. To be honest, it probably exceeds even my wildest conspiracy theories. I haven't been on Twitter for ages, for I think about 2 years now, and the world is a wonderful place without it, I can tell you. But what is really interesting is when you do, I didn't go, oh, I'm deleting my account now, whatever. But I do check in on it sometimes when, there's a link to a tweet or something in a news story that I'm reading, and I'll click on that. And the first thing you notice is how utterly deranged that place is, how it bears no resemblance to what your friends, the people in the street you talk to, the checkout chick you buy your groceries from. Nothing on Twitter actually has any bearing on the real world, except as a kind of reverse barometer, i.e. that whatever people are most energised by and worked up on Twitter is the opposite of what's happening in the real world. So, of course, there will be an algorithm there to either A, reflect that and reinforce the existing biases of its users, because I think it actually swings a bit left without the algorithm. But again, as we've seen in previous chats we've had, there seems to be this thing where modern progressives simply cannot tolerate dissent. And it's not just Twitter, unfortunately. It's also, and this is what really worries me, is that it's infecting mainstream news organisations who claim to be non-partisan and impartial. And obviously outlets like Fox News or indeed this network, After Dark, famously, has a conservative viewpoint, but they don't pretend that they're impartial. It's very clearly editorialising, whereas an organisation like CNN or CBS or the Washington Post or the New York Times pretend to be the upholders of balance and fairness and impartiality. And clearly they are not. Clearly they are actively repressing stories that they perhaps genuinely don't believe because it simply violates their pre-existing orthodoxy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive problem.